What is up, everybody? Welcome to a Sunday edition. No, not Sunday, Saturday edition of Crunch Time here on RotoGrinders. I'm trying to make the weekend go too fast. That is unacceptable. We've got a large day slate of baseball games here for you today. 12 games this afternoon, just 3 games tonight. So if you're looking to get your MLB DFS fix today before the NBA playoffs start, this 12-game baseball slate is a good way to do it. So we've got 3 guys here to help you break it down. I am Justin Van Zuten, STL Cardinals 84. Got TJ Zwarich alongside. TJ, how you doing this morning?
Doing very well. Up bright and early here, 10 a.m. for me, but ready to dive in, talk some baseball. I'm with you, though. I don't know exactly why, but it does feel like a Sunday.
I think it's because of the 12-day games. You know, that's how Sunday lays out all the time. There's always everybody plays during the day. Usually not, you don't see that on a Saturday. So that's got me all thrown off for some reason. It's also April 15th, which is usually tax day. So in the U.S., a day for me to celebrate as a tax accountant. I can finally relax for a while. Of course, with it being a Saturday, we got to wait till Monday to do that. But in any case, more free time for me, at least, to discuss some baseball, and that's always good. So we'll get things kick-started here with this big slate today. We've got Andre Alford alongside. Also, Andre, how you doing today?
I am doing pretty good here. Trying to hopefully bounce back from yesterday. Felt like I had some good calls yesterday, but didn't do that well. So hopefully today could be a little bit different. But it's another big slate that we have here. So look forward to trying to break it down with you guys.
Yeah, sometimes that's just the way it goes in baseball. A lot more variance in baseball than a lot of the other sports. So you gotta roll with the punches and take the variance, the ups and downs, and just hope that in the long run it all pays off for you. So, all right, well, we've got plenty to get to this afternoon with 12 games on the slate. We've got both Fanduel and DraftKings with the 12-game slate, of course. We'll kind of prioritize our discussion around FanDuel since they are a great sponsor of the show. And we'll get things kick-started with just a general overview of the pitching we've got today, which is a little bit iffy, I guess you want to say. TJ, you find any gems in this mix of pitchers? We got 24 of them. Some of them should be good.
Yeah, I don't know about gems, but some options that I'm maybe a little more excited to go with than others. This is kind of like a tale of two sides a little bit because the pricing is very different depending on where you look here. You know, like our 2 most expensive pitchers on FanDuel are Graham Ashcraft and Anthony Desclafani, which just feels wild. On FanDuel, where this feels a little off that we have Freddie Peralta at 1%. That's not going to be right. But Freddie Peralta is definitely my favorite guy here. Lugo and Matz and even like guys like Kopech or Herman that are projecting decently well. Carrasco projects really well against Oakland. Not going to be for me today. On FanDuel, if I'm running a single entry, I'm looking at somebody like Peralta, and I'd rather even take shots on like Elder, Maley, somebody like Molly, somebody like that, as opposed to going with like a chalky Carlos Carrasco or Michael Lorenzen today. So I'm going to be looking to get like a little bit different. I'd rather take shots on Desclafani and Freddie Peralta as opposed to going down to some of these chalkier guys today, just because none of it feels very good.
Yeah, and I think we have or are in the process of uploading an ownership update. I think Lorenzen was projecting as chalk earlier, but that doesn't really, he hasn't pitched yet. So that was kind of just a last year data driven number. So that has just now been updated. But I agree. I think our number on Peralta is still a bit low. Andre, what do you think of pitching today?
Yeah, it is. I'm playing obviously mostly on DK today, but it's pretty much the same thing. Like I like Peralta here at the top, San Diego. Obviously they have a good lineup, but they do strike out a decent amount here. So I want to get exposure to him because he's just the best pitcher on the slate. As one of my pitchers here. So I don't mind doing that here on DK. Use him as like an SP1. Tyler Mahle also is a good option, especially with the weather here in New York. I know it's even though it's like kind of hot here, not hotter than the last 2 days, but the weather is also going to start raining here a little bit, so that might help with the runs a little bit. So Male, I think, is another guy you can look at possibly. Desclafani, I think, is another option in the mid tier that I don't mind getting to again going against Detroit. I think that he's someone that we can definitely get to here at 8-9 just to be a little bit different. And obviously we know the guys like Seth Lugo, who's 37%. And then we got Steve Matz here as well. That are going to be like the highest owned guys here on this on DK. Don't mind those a little bit either, but pivoting to guys like you said, Ashcraft is someone I don't mind pivoting to, and that same price range as well. I might even think about getting a little bit of Zach Pleasant here too. So it's kind of like all over the place a little bit for me and my from what I'm gathering and from my pitching pool, which is a bit wider than normal, but it's the same thing as yesterday in a way.
That's kind of where I'm at too on DraftKings, Dre. It's like where Carrasco and Lugo and Mats are basically going to combine for like 80 to 90% ownership over there. I love the idea of just getting heavily overweight on Ashcraft and then mixing in a little bit of Plesac, a little bit of Kopech, get some Bryce Elder, all these guys in the same price tier that are picking up a third or less of the ownership as those other guys.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's the best way to go, especially for tournaments.
And obviously differs by site as well, with Ashcraft and DeSclafani, as TJ mentioned, being the two most expensive pitchers on FanDuel. They really don't make sense over there on the single pitcher site, but Ashcraft, you're getting a big discount on DraftKings, and a guy whose velocity is way up. His slider is a lot better, showing a lot more strikeout ability, both in spring training and in his first couple of starts. So Ashcraft is definitely a guy I like on DraftKings today, Lugo as well. And they just give you access to a little bit more ceiling than guys like Mats and Carrasco, who sure they have good matchups today, but Carrasco has looked like an absolute dumpster fire in his first two starts. I don't see a reason just because of matchup, especially if you're playing tournaments, to play Carrasco and Mats as chalk plays today. Look to some of these other options and try to get yourself a ceiling game for your tournament builds, but definitely a lot different by site as well. TJ, anything else that you want to talk about on the pitching front today?
Yeah, specifically, we did have a question in chat about the Atlanta and Kansas City weather, but also I think it's important to talk about this Pittsburgh and St. Louis game where we have Lugo playing, or sorry, Steven Matz playing, and Roth just updated his weather report, and he changed it to yellow-orange in St. Louis, and he said increasing risk based on the slightly increased potential for a storm to interrupt the game, and the fact that any delay would put the following main line of storms into play and make it tough to finish. So there is a chance of a pop-up storm that could potentially interrupt Steven Matz. And then in Atlanta and Kansas City, he says, should be pretty ugly before the game and around first pitch, but clearing there shortly after. Best guess and current expectation would be a late start and play. Due to that, like, I have no issues with pitchers whatsoever or bats whatsoever in the Atlanta and KC game. And it kind of makes like Bryce Elder a guy that I like a decent amount in tournaments.
Yeah, so keep an eye on the weather, I guess, in those two places. Seems like St. Louis would be the bigger risk, particularly for pitchers at the moment. So if you're on Steven Matz or you're taking a shot in the dark on Roansy Contreras, you can make sure you keep your eyes tuned to any updates on that. I believe that game is a 2:15 start. So, all right. Andre, anything else for you on pitching before we move along?
No, that's really it. I do like him Elder though. I like the Elder call a lot. He's going to be low owned, and I think he can have a big game here against Kansas City.
All right. Don't forget, as we transition to bats here, if you're in a legal sports betting state, you can sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. Take advantage of their awesome new bonus offer. New customers, you bet $5, you get $150 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply on that. But if you are not yet signed up for the FanDuel Sportsbook, get over there and get that bonus today. So, All right, let's talk bats. And again, not a lot on the pitching front today. If you start to look at offense, you've got basically the Rays and the Blue Jays. That game has a 10-run total. You've got the Mets, you've got the Guardians, you've got the Cardinals, all projected for 5 or more runs today. The Angels, the Red Sox, right around 5. So no surprise that we've got some high team totals with how weak the pitching pool is. Andre, what are you looking at for top offenses, maybe some stacks today?
That's where like there's a lot that I like here on as far as the stack side here. Some of the few that I'm going to try to get to that I want to use to get different. Obviously, St. Louis, I don't mind taking some shots at them a little bit here, even though with that weather being a little bit of an issue. I'm kind of thinking, like, even though Desclafani, like, on the side, like, Fanduel is going to be, I think, somewhat popular, if I'm correct. Let me look at him over there again real quick, because if he's going to be popular, I don't mind doing, like, a mini Detroit stack.
He won't be that popular on FanDuel because he's the second most expensive guy.
On DK, he's at 15%. Even though I like him a lot on DK, he's gonna be that game has a like if you look at the Weather Edge, which has 96 games with the current conditions that it is at right now. Even though the wind is blowing in, it still has a increase in home runs and total runs in the game. So I like taking some shots at Detroit here a little bit. Obviously, I'm gonna play some San Francisco as well. I do like the Chicago or the White Sox a little bit, and as well as the Baltimore Orioles. Pretty much any game with good weather, I'm going to try to target. And since Carrasco's been horrible, I don't even mind taking some shots at Oakland. I think that's kind of off the board here, but they played one. They had one, I think, a good game last week where they were a good stack for me. So I don't mind taking some shots at Oakland here, and I do love the Reds here a lot.
Yeah, the Reds were the team I wrote up as kind of my cheap stack if you need it. My kind of conundrum with that was I don't know if you need it today. There's just not a whole lot for pitching that if you're saving with your pitchers, particularly on DraftKings, if you're going like the double cheap pitcher build, then you don't really need to go for that cheap stack today. A lot of times the cheap stacks make more sense on a day where you want to pay up for like 2 aces or something like that. But so don't necessarily know if you need it today, but if you are looking for it, I think that Detroit call is interesting. But Cincinnati was kind of my play in that range. TJ, what are you looking at for stacks today?
I have, believe it or not, the same vomit stack interest that Dre has in Oakland, because if Carrasco is really going to be the highest owned pitcher today, he's just looked terrible to start the year. I don't mind the idea of stacking against him today. We got 30 likes, but we got over 200 people watching. Let's hit the like button for us. Slide that mouse over, click the button. If you're watching on your phone, click hide chat, then click that like button. We'll get our first Spidey Bomb at 50 likes, so we are 20 likes away. My favorite stack today is probably going to be the Guardians. Jose Ramirez is obviously the top batter on the board today, and the Guardians are going to be somewhat chalky, and so those, like when I'm playing Guardians, that's kind of where I'm looking to get different at the pitching position, go with guys that are going to be much lower owned today. The Ashcrafts and Elders on DraftKings, Freddie Peralta on FanDuel. And then when it comes to the other team I probably like best is going to be the Mets today. I know you wrote these two teams up as well in the expert survey today, and I'm on the same page. I like these guys quite a bit. The Mets are probably my favorite tournament stack on the board because they're coming in lower owned than Cleveland is today. And then Toronto is a team I'd want to get to a lot of. Tampa Bay is a team I'd want to get to a decent amount of. I like Baltimore. And then my favorite vomit stack to get contrarian, to get different, nice and cheap is going to be Oakland.
All right. Anything else in general before we start digging into the positions here? Andre, you got anything else before we dive in?
No.
All right. Well, let's start breaking it down. We go position by position generally, and then we'll take your questions both in the RotoGrinders Discord and in the YouTube chat. Let's start with catcher. TJ, what are you looking at for catchers today?
So Adley Rutschman, to me, anytime he's playing nowadays, is almost always the top catcher on the board. Lefty facing Kopech, I like him today. When I can get to him in my lineups on DraftKings, he's definitely the one I'm going to be wanting to go to. But on FanDuel, I still think he is a reasonable catcher play as well. JT Realmuto is probably the next one. If you want to save a bit of salary, Mike Zunino is probably going to be my favorite guy. And then if you need like a full-on punch, Francisco Alvarez is probably the one that I'd want to be going with here.
Yeah, interesting to see kind of this catcher pool develop. Like, again, on FanDuel, even though you don't need one, you got Rutschman at 3,800, and then 2,900 is the next most expensive. So he's basically becoming a tier of his own, at least on FanDuel, in terms of the catcher pricing. And I mean, I don't mind some Baltimore exposure today. Kopech is just never seems to fulfill his promise that he had when he was first coming up, and people don't like playing bats against him, but he is definitely hittable, particularly when he's off his game. So
been a great
Andre
option in the past few years in MLB The Show, though. He's always got a great prospect card, and he can throw like 102 in it.
The video game card has not translated to the real diamond. We'll have to ask my oldest, who's into the Diamond Dynasty stuff on MLB The Show, if he's got a Kopech card we can check out. But
tell him to add me on PS5. I've been grinding The Show 2023 so far. We'll play some games.
Okay, we got it. Yeah, they got it about 10 days ago. So the youngest does not present a challenge yet, but unfortunately the oldest, who he's gonna be 13 in July, has reached the stage where he's just as good as his dad at the video games, and that competitive me doesn't care for that too much, because he can usually I'd say slightly more times than not he can usually beat me, which I don't like it. I need to hone my skills with that a little bit better. But in any case, that's another story. But
me and you are going to be late night playing MLB The Show too, so you can step up your game after they go to sleep.
There you go. All right. I lost track of where is that. We're talking about Kopech cards. All right, Andre, catchers.
All right, catchers. Obviously, Rutschman, Realmuto. Those are the guys you want to go with for sure. Zunino or the Cleveland second, and also with catcher in particular, especially like on a site like DraftKings, I'm only specifically using these guys in my stacks, except for maybe a guy like JT or Rutschman, who you can obviously use, or even maybe Sean Murphy if you want to. I think those guys are fine as one-offs and South, and obviously the Kansas City guys if you want to go there. Mainly Perez. Those guys are fine as one-offs, but for the most part, everyone else will be like used in stacks here. So I do also like Bethencourt. I liked him yesterday a lot. I think he can go yard again today, so I like him a lot here in this spot. One with obviously a little Tampa Bay stack, especially since they lost yesterday. They might want to bounce back. Tyler Stevenson also someone I don't mind having a little bit of interest in here. As well, Jansen, I think it's another guy you can look at today. Only in the stack wise too. And I mentioned obviously guys like Sean Murphy, MJ Melendez. If you want to go with like a little bit of a Kansas City stack, I think you can definitely use him or Perez here as well. And yes, Minnie Grandal is another option I like.
All right, not horrible for catcher options today. A lot of times we'll see some days off on the weekend, so you get some of the backups in there. Contreras for St. Louis is out of the lineup today, but most of the starters are in there. At least the guys that we're used to targeting from a DFS perspective. All right, Andre, I'll keep it with you here. If you want to pivot over to first base, what are you looking at first today?
Okay, first base. Obviously, I think we know the highest guy is going to be no other than Shohei Ohtani, and going against Mike Pivetta here, so he should be able to get a home run. Is he first base on FanDuel too? FanDuel, he's outfield. He's outfield on FanDuel, but on DK, he's first base slash outfield. So he's fine, obviously, in both places, but definitely, you can use him either or. On obviously both places, but Shohei, I think is an option. Obviously, Mount Castro is another good option. I do like. I'm gonna go a little bit down here, like Josh Bell, someone I do like here going against Cole, so I think you can use him today. If you do want to go, say you want to decide to go to Yankees stack, you can go with like a Anthony Rizzo in there. I don't mind him today as well. He's been hitting the ball really well lately. Rowdy Tellez did a one-off against Lugo. If you want to go that route, I don't mind that. Or in the mini Milwaukee stack, I think works perfectly fine today as well. Sorry. And then if you want to go up and get a guy like obviously you got Josh Naylor here too as well, who's a good option. And if you want to go with like Gary Cooper, I don't mind that option too.
All right, TJ, where are you looking at first base this afternoon?
I'm looking at 50 likes, which means it is time for the Spidey Bomb. We'll get a
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thief.
All right.
Welcome to the weekend.
And our first Spidey Bomb of the day. Second one's at 100 likes. We got Pete Alonso for the Mets, coming in at low ownership because of the great first baseman options we have on both sides. Pete Alonso's knocking one out of the park, and he is our first Spidey Bomb of the day. Let's hit the like button, get it up to 100, so we can get that next one. At first base today, I'm looking at if I'm in kind of like an optimal cash game setting. If I'm paying up, it's Ohtani. If I'm paying down, it's Naylor. But Vlad is a great option here as well. Pete Alonso is going to be my favorite for tournaments. This is kind of a spot for me where it's not necessarily dependent on the guy's price for me, but I want to make sure I'm playing somebody that I think can knock at least one homer out of the park because it's such a strong position today, and you're going to need some power from your first baseman.
All right, like those calls for sure. Definitely a position where you need to get some upside. Oh man, I was going to try to keep it with you for second base real fast to prevent you from being able to get the mask off. But you managed to get it off while I was talking, so I can't play that game. But in any case, that's how I roll. I kind of go back and forth with who starts first at each position. So TJ, I'll keep it with you, and let's go through second base, which appears to on the surface be the weakest position today.
Yeah, definitely. Like, we got Andres Jimenez as our guy that's like the best play at the position today. It's like, well, maybe that's not that great of a position. On FanDuel, you have Ketel Marte batting leadoff at $2,500. So I definitely think that's kind of like your cash game play today. From a tournament standpoint, like this is most likely just going to be I'm playing somebody in my stack, and that's about it. Whether it's Jimenez, India, Gorman is probably my favorite one of the group batting fifth today. I'm fine with a little bit of Stott batting leadoff or Jeff McNeil in my Met stacks, but because this isn't that great of a position today, I'm looking to go India in a cash game and basically just a stack somebody in my stack anywhere else.
Yeah, it's definitely not a strong position. You're probably going with one of the paths of least resistance in cash games. I do like Gorman as well. He's been the Cardinals' best hitter the first 2 weeks of the season, so nice to see him rolling and getting a little lineup bump with Contreras out today. So as TJ mentioned, hitting fifth. But again, remember, if you're just tuning in, we do have to at least somewhat monitor the weather in St. Louis with the risk of storms there. So, Andre, where are you looking at second base today?
I like the calls he made with India and Jimenez as well. Albies, I think, is someone we could definitely use a little bit in Atlanta, the Atlanta game, but don't mind that. Gorham, or Brandon Donovan for the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't mind taking some shots on them today as well. And then I'm going to give one more guy out that I do like down here. Sorry, just scrolling down to the bottom. And I also do like going with a guy like Taylor Walls here for Tampa Bay. I think they can get to Kikuchi. I think they're another sneaky stack here. At least I believe they're going to be sneaky. But it can have a lot of upside today.
Yeah, nobody likes to play the Rays, even though they're 13-1 or whatever it is, just because their lineup seems like it shouldn't be as good as it is. And who knows if they're playing over their head, but they're always a team that tends to the sum of the parts is better than the individual pieces. If you want to go with the old cliche, Kikuchi, control problems, type of lineup that he'll struggle against. So I like the Tampa Bay offense today too, as if their ownership is low, as a sneakier stack. All right, go ahead, TJ.
I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the almost minimum price on both sites. Lead off, great prospect for the Twins, fellow Canadian Edouard Julien, as somebody that you can play today as well.
All right, get your French baguettes and get it rolling with the Canadian today. I don't mind that too. Lots of guys that you're going to see a lot of ownership concentrate here on guys that aren't necessarily the best hitters because the position is so weak. So if you decide you want to take a contrarian approach in GPPs, there definitely is some merit to that as well. All right, Andre, I'll stick with you, and we shall move to third base today.
All right, third base. I like Devers here. Obviously, Jose Ramirez is a guy that's going to be very popular here today in them Cleveland stacks, or as a one-off. He's good here. Isaac Paredes is another good option here. I do also like if you want to go like the opposite side of that game of the Tampa Bay game and go with like Toronto. Matt Chapman, I think, is someone that you have to use in your stack today. I like Spencer Steer too a lot on a cheap end at third base for Cincinnati. I think he's in the second spot. I think he's very, very, very good and liable to go for a home run today as well. And I do also like Jake Burger.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sense myself of what to do with the White Sox today, a team that has been frustrating for DFS purposes for
2 years.
For 2 years now.
Never played them.
If you just never
Robert or Jimenez, play him. If not, don't.
Yeah, it's just like they should be so good and they just don't perform up to where they should.
And I guess I should stop being surprised by that at this point, because at some point it stops becoming a variance and it starts becoming that's just who they are. But I see them at sub 5% all the time, and maybe this is the day. It's probably not. So we'll just move along. TJ, what you got at third base today?
So Jose Ramirez is obviously the top play on the board, the cash game play, the chalk, the optimal play, especially on Fanduel where he's only $3,600. When I'm choosing between somebody like Paredes and Yandy Diaz, like in a vacuum, I like Paredes better, but I kind of feel like if he's coming in at almost 20% ownership and Diaz is less than 10, I would just rather go with Diaz in my stacks here. Austin Riley, I think, is a great tournament play today. I love Dre Spencer Steer and Matt Chapman call. Chapman's been the best batter for the Blue Jays to start this season. He's just been batting the cover off the ball. And so I really like him as a potential one-off if you have the salary or in your Blue Jays stacks as well.
All right. Again, Toronto, another team that people don't like targeting against the Rays when they're using an opener because, who knows who's going to pitch when. But at some point, a lot of these guys are just slightly below average pitchers or average pitchers facing a really good lineup in Toronto. If they're going under own, that's another offense you can certainly be interested in on a big slate. All right.
The Rays were undefeated and the Blue Jays beat the Rays. So math tells us that the Blue Jays are the best team in baseball.
That's how it works. That is how it rolls. So the Blue Jays have taken the crown for today. And with that, we'll move to shortstop. TJ, what do you like at short today?
Shortstop today, not that strong of a position, I find. Like the chalky Trey Turners and Ahmed Rosarios, that kind of feels like not for me. I like Jimenez. I like Bichette. I like Wander Franco. Francisco Lindor is probably my favorite one of the entire group. Carlos Correa. I didn't mention it in the stacks, but I do actually think a low-owned Met stack, the low-owned Twin stack, nice and cheap in tournaments. I do think that's somewhat interesting. So somebody like Carlos Correa at FanDuel at 2,800. If I have the salary and I'm choosing between, like in a cash game lineup, I'm choosing between Correa and Rosario. It's Correa for me by a fairly large margin. And so don't mind some Correa if you land on somebody like a John Birdie. Like I would rather do John Birdie in tournaments than Ahmed Rosario at that type of ownership. So Turner and Rosario are going to be fades for me because of that ownership on such a large slate. And I'm going to differentiate with these other great batters. Like, I'll play Willie Adames at 1% ownership. Great. Kike Hernandez against the lefty in the middle of the order at sub 5%. Sign me up. I will double that ownership. Same with Correa, same with Lindor, same with Franco, same with Bichette, and then just not play the chalky guys like Turner and Rosario here.
Yeah, especially since this is such a deep position where you've got a lot of upside. You know, if we go, let's see, if I go back to second base, you know, we've got one guy projected above 11 fantasy points on FanDuel. At shortstop, we've got like 7. So you just got a lot more potential upside plays here. Obviously, don't mind playing whoever you've got in your stacks, but then you've got a lot of other options as well. I think Lindor ends up being my favorite overall when you factor in where we've got his ownership and the price at 3,700 at least on FanDuel. But obviously, I like the Mets stack quite a bit as well. So, Andre, what do you got at shortstop today?
Sorry about that. I had myself muted and trying to get back to this. All right. So shortstop, obviously Trey Turner is a good option here. Wander Franco, for the Rays, I don't mind. Francisco Lindor, I think it's an excellent play. Bobby Witt could be played on any slate, so I love him as well. Let's go down to the bottom here a little bit. I do like Kike Hernandez again here, part of your Boston stacks. I think he's a good guy that you can get your lineup to hit. And then I also like, for some reason, they were loving them earlier. The Miami, John Birdie, if you want to use something like a Miami mini stack, I don't mind that.
You got that stolen base potential there, and obviously stolen bases are up a little bit this year with the changes in the rules. So I think the projections are kind of starting to upgrade the stolen base threats a little bit in the early going. All right, so we'll get to your questions in just a second. If you're a RotoGrinders premium subscriber, we can prioritize your questions. You can throw those into the MLB Crunch Time Discord channel. If you are unfamiliar with how to get there, rotogrinders.com. Click on MLB, follow the links to the Discord, or just rotogrinders.com/Discord, log in, and then you can get to the MLB Crunch Time channel. If you're not a premium member at RotoGrinders, but you're watching us on YouTube, you can drop your questions in there, and we will certainly get to those before we get off the air. TJ, what are we looking at for thumbs up here?
Need 34 more likes to get to our second Spidey Bomb, but I think we can do it for sure. We got Nate in chat saying, let's get these likes up, get another Spidey Bomb. We got almost 300 people watching. We can do this for sure. We should be able to get at least half. So let's hammer that like button. Spidey Bomb has been hot lately. We are 7 for our last 13 on home run plays here. So they've been absolutely cooking. Make sure you hit the like button so we can get a second Spidey Bomb in. At the outfield position today, the two places I'm looking are two teams that I haven't mentioned much throughout the other positions. And that's the Angels and Baltimore. Trout and Ohtani are the two top guys on the board. I think I would probably prioritize Ohtani first, especially on FanDuel where he has a $600 discount. And then Cedric Mullins going up against Kopech, projecting super well. Probably somebody you're definitely getting to in cash games on FanDuel. On DraftKings, where he's priced up, still a great play, but not quite as strong. Kyle Schwarber is a low-owned play today that I really like. I think he could hit a bomb at pretty low ownership. Jazz Chisholm on FanDuel at 3K, I absolutely love today. Buxton, that fits with the mini stack that I was talking about with Minnesota today or earlier at the shortstop position. Varsho is another guy like. Nimmo is another guy like. Josh Naylor is too cheap if you're not playing him at first base. Very, very strong position today.
Yeah, lots of upside options. I am on board with some of those Orioles and the Mets as well as some of my favorite options. And again, those later starts, maybe those offenses go a little bit under-owned because their lineups aren't out quite as much in advance. So don't sleep on some of those teams that are in those 4 p.m. game windows. Andre, what are you looking at for outfielders today? I think you're muted again.
Sorry, yeah, I have to refresh my page. My thing said something is wrong on there. There we go.
We got
all right,
you.
All right, perfect. All right, so obviously you mentioned the Angels guys, Tyler Ward, Nimmo, someone I do like here. I think the Mets are interesting here. The Mets lefties too, so I don't mind taking some shots on them. Obviously Cedric Mullins. You obviously use Trout and Otani, as TJ said. Aaron Judge, you can use every single day, no matter who the pitcher is. You just roster him as a one-off. I do like Juan Soto today a good amount. Anthony Santander, Hunter Renfroe, I think, is another interesting option here today as well. So like if you want to use like a mini KC stack, I think I mentioned go like Sal Perez, Bobby Witt before. You could even go with MJ Melendez here, especially since he has the eligibility to be in the outfield here on DK. So I think that's another good option here too as well to use. And yeah, I think I meant Kiki Hernandez before, but yeah, I do like him a lot too as well. Oh, Will Myers too. Sorry.
All right. Again, if you got those questions, start dropping them in. We will we'll get to those now. We've got plenty of time. We've got 13 minutes left until lineup lock. TJ, anything else for outfielders or really any position before we start taking some questions?
No, I think we're good to get in for QQs. 24 more likes for Spidey Bomb number 2. Come on, 100 likes isn't very much. You got this, people. Let's get it.
All right. Hit that like button. Again, we appreciate that very much. And thanks to Fanduel for being a great sponsor of the show. We've got a big Saturday slate of games, and thanks to all of you for watching and checking us out early on your weekend. All right, large field GPPs, J Sams, TJ, I'll throw this one to you. Would you play someone like Adames over Jimenez if he already have Naylor and Ramirez in that lineup?
No, I would play Jimenez if I already had the Cleveland guys.
All right, yeah, roll up all those Cleveland bets. No problem with that myself. All right, FanDuel Cash from NBA DFS. Andre, Mullins plus Lindor or Trout and Naylor?
Dag, you can't argue with Trout. Trout's the guy. You have to go with that one.
All right, let's see. Falcor, FanDuel single entry for. Would you go with basically a 4-4 Mets Giants stack? And we talked about the Mets. I know TJ and I are both on the Mets. TJ, where do you stand on the Giants today against Lorenzen?
I'm okay with it just because they do have some like decent lineup spots going for some nice cheap hitters. Like you get Yastrzemski batting third today, who I really like. I didn't mention him in the outfield, but I'm totally down to get to some Yaz today. He's $3,600 on DraftKings, $2,900 on FanDuel, coming in at low ownership. I don't think I love the San Fran full stack just because of the pinch hit risks for certain guys. Like you got Beatty batting first, Beatty batting fifth, Wade batting first. Both of them probably got some decent pitch hit risks. So I'd rather probably roll it like Yaz, JD Davis, Tyro Estrada, and then maybe try and find a one-off elsewhere. But if you like your lineup with a 4v4, I don't mind it.
Yeah, same here. Giants are usually not a priority. On a big slate, I probably pass on them, but do like the Mets a lot. FanDuel single entry. Andre, your favorite pitcher in a FanDuel single entry from Carolina guy?
I'm trying to think now because let me see. FanDuel single entry. That's tough. I want to. Oh my gosh! I'm gonna take a chance here and say Ashcraft.
I like Ashcraft a good bit too. I don't know if I can get there on FanDuel with the price, but like him a lot.
Sorry, did you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, I didn't know because my Siri actually went off in my ear at the same time, so I wasn't sure.
Always great when that happens. But yeah, I'm a fan of Ashcraft today. Tough on FanDuel, given that he's the most expensive. It just seems weird, but I love the way his strikeouts have popped so far in the early going. All right, TJ, best DK outfielder for cash 3,300 or less from BJ Adam.
All right, let's see what we got here. Scrolling down for 3,300 or less. I think I would probably go with. We don't have too many great options on this in this range on DraftKings, do we? I guess I'd probably go with like Jordan Walker, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
it
becomes
because it's a lefty. Like, yeah,
it's a little bit of a dead zone today in terms of the salary there, but hey, I don't mind the call. All right, let's see. That takes care of the questions for now on the Discord.
Sorry, that's the answer. Rob Refsnyder.
Okay, yeah, and that would open up a lot more salary for you because, well, maybe not. I think, what is he, 29?
29, yeah.
Yeah, on DK. Is their lineup out yet?
Yes, Refsnyder is batting third today.
Yeah, they faced like 4 lefties in 5 days or something crazy like that. So I don't mind that. I wrote him up as one of my favorite values on DK as well today. So I am fine with Refsnyder also. All right, let's see. If you are just now tuning in, a couple of spots to monitor for weather. So the first one is in Atlanta, or is in Kansas City, with Atlanta in town against Kansas City today. There's some potential storms, or there's some storms rolling through now that should be out shortly. So the game might have a late start. Didn't seem from Ross' early update that there was a significant risk in that game, but definitely something that we need to keep an eye on just in case. And then St. Louis seems to have the bigger risk because that same storm line is going to be rolling through Missouri and get to St. Louis later today. So if there's an earlier day storm, that could cause a problem with the St. Louis game being able to be completed in a timely manner today. So those are the 2 spots, Atlanta, KC, and Pittsburgh, St. Louis, that do have some weather risk today. All right, back to TJ for an update on the YouTube stats. Where are we at?
15 likes away. We're actually really close now. So let's get that like button. I'll tell you what, if we can get it up over 90, I will give away that second Spidey Bomb because we are so close to lock here. So let's get it up over 90, and we got Spidey Bomb number 2.
All right, we've got a few questions in the YouTube. Do you mind? So, do you mind game stacking the Rays Blue Jays game? Game stacking is a kind of a popular thing in other sports. It's not necessarily relevant in MLB, especially with the new extra inning rules. It's not like games are going 15, 16 innings. And even if so, you're not getting a guaranteed points, but not like MLB or not like NBA and NFL overtimes. It's not necessarily a slate breaker, but on their own accord, TJ, do you like the Blue Jays and or the Rays today?
Yes, I do like them both individually. The only time I really look to get a game stack in is if it's a game with like 90-degree weather. We're up to 96, so we're only 4 likes away from 100. So get that to be nice. But I did promise the Spidey Bomb at 90, so let's fire it up here. Spidey Bomb number 2 coming from the outfield position in that Rays Blue Jays game. And Yusei Kikuchi, since the start of last season, has given up a 51% hard hit rate to right-handed bats, a 280 ISO. Randy Arozarena is knocking one right out of the park today.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thief.
A little slow on the take there from Rob.
I appreciate Rob letting me finish the thought.
I was letting him do his thought on that one. I was not slow.
All right. We'll give him the out for that particular instance. Fine. But all right. So Arozarena is the second Spidey Bomb, and the first one was Pete Alonso, I believe.
Yes.
All right. So there's your 2 Spidey Bomb calls of the day from TJ. and we are under 5 minutes left
Oh.
until lock.
I told people I would put the mask back on, and I forgot. So I'll drop it on for a while.
All right, getting the mask back on. Again, if you got last-minute questions, drop them in. Aside with a question, Andre, FanDuel Cash, we've got a 2v2 here. Quan and Acuna is option 1, and Trout and Schwarber is option 2.
Anything with Trout is probably going to be number 1.
All right, so Trout
But
and
yeah, even though Quan is an excellent hitter, I love him as a hitter.
Yeah, good fit with that Cleveland roster is Quan. Like him a lot. And don't mind him today in that matchup against a guy who has struggled against left-handed bats. All right, Achilles, rank these spend-ups in DK Cash. Trout, Mullins, Alonso. TJ, what do you got?
He just did. And so I would go Trout, Mullins, Alonso.
All right. Caught up in questions right now on the Discord. Jeff just got on, asked about weather. Okay to use a pitcher in Atlanta. Just to be clear, the game's in Kansas City, but the Braves are in KC. And it seems like it's going to be okay with maybe a late start. We got to keep an eye on Raw for an update. I believe that game starts in an hour, so not definitive as of yet. But as of right now, I think Kansas City seems safer than St. Louis in terms of weather if you're looking to use a pitcher. But I am not the weather authority, and I'm not going to guarantee that by any means. Just think seems like it's going to work out as of now.
Make sure you're following Kevin Roth on Twitter and get those hit that notification bell on it, because during baseball season it is so important to have his notifications on, especially when the weather starts going.
Yeah, at Kevin Roth WX for the weather updates, and Kevin is of course on the shows usually during the week. So, all right, let's see. Mark Rios DK tournament Elder. Okay, it's two pitching combos. Option 1 is Elder and Herman. Option 2 is Ashcraft and Matz. Andre, who you got? What pairing?
Ashcraft and Matz.
All right. Let's see. I think we're all caught up on the questions, both in the Discord. We do have a couple people typing. TJ, any updated thoughts from you on anything as we get to about 2 minutes to lock here?
Somebody did just drop a question in YouTube. Any interest in Paredes in your Tampa stacks? Absolutely. Great play. He's got a ton of power. I don't love him as a one-off today just because of the ownership he's going to be picking up. And if the rest of your lineup is somewhat chalky, like Yandy Diaz will be a lot lower owned. But I have no problem with Paredes in Tampa Bay stacks whatsoever.
All right, Andre, any last thoughts from you before we get to the lock here?
No, not really. Just trying to get my lineups in as usual. I always do this at the last minute. I don't ever learn.
The first step is recognizing the problem. So you're at that stage, right? You're at that stage of grief or whatever they call it. So maybe
I'm always at that stage. I gotta get past it. It's just getting past it, unfortunately. So, but just trying to get them in as quick as I possibly can. But good luck everyone today. I like the Mets now more. I'm trying to get more of them. I'm also trying to get some more Cardinals and some more Reds if I can, possible.
All right, NBA DFS has asked for thoughts on the NBA slate. Got a punt on that. I legitimately haven't even looked at the NBA slate. We do have an article out and an expert survey, though. And I know he's a premium member, so you can check out those things. I have not peeked. I had to do the big MLB article today, so MLB has been my focus. Jay Sams, do you think Ward goes overlooked in the outfield? I mean, I think the Angels, obviously, Trout and Ohtani get their ownership, but the rest of them never do. So, TJ, any thoughts on the other Angels outside of Trout and Ohtani?
I wouldn't be interested in one off any Angels outside of Trout and Ohtani, but I don't mind them whatsoever.
Oh, wow.
Do you know about Nato, this shortstop they just called up?
Yeah, I don't know that much about him. I got to do some digging on him, but I mean, it can't be any worse than the shortstops they've been rolling out for the last couple of years. So, All right, with that, we're at the lock. Anything else?
No, that's it. I didn't need to take a stray shot at David Fletcher like that. That was unnecessary.
Fletcher's a professional hitter, but just I don't know. Not the kind of guy you want for any sort of long-term ceiling.
QQ on somebody said any lean between this 2v2 Lindor and Kwan versus Jimenez and Marte. I think that'd be Lindor and Kwan for me.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, we're at the lock, and we'll go ahead and put a wrap on the show for today. We thank you all for joining us. I'll have if you're a premium subscriber, I'll have a few thoughts on the late slate in my article here pretty soon, but just 3 games tonight. So probably no other live show. I know there is MMA tonight. So of course, the NBA playoffs getting started. Plenty of content for you here on RotoGrinders. Thanks as always for joining us. Thanks to TJ. Thanks to Andre for joining me. Thanks to Rob for producing behind the scenes as well. I am Justin. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you later.